In the quiet, pre-dawn hours of a Minnesota suburb, a phantom appeared. He wore the uniform of trust, the armor of the law, but carried the heart of an assassin. He knocked on the doors of public servants, not with a warrant for justice, but with a meticulously planned mandate for death. The first clue to the chilling truth of what transpired on June 14, 2025, wasn't the shell casings or the blood, but a bizarre collection of items found in the killer's car. Leaflets for a political protest, targeting a president from the opposite party of his victims. It was a detail so contradictory, so illogical, it threatened to unravel the entire case before it even began, suggesting this was far more than a simple act of violence. It was a performance, and we are still trying to understand its true meaning. Our story unfolds in the heart of America's Midwest, on an early Friday morning, under the vast, quiet sky of Minnesota. The stage is set in two peaceful, almost interchangeable suburbs north of Minneapolis, Champlin and Brooklyn Park. These are communities of manicured lawns, two-car garages, and the gentle hum of ordinary life, the last places you would expect to become the epicenter of a calculated political assassination. The key players in this tragedy were pillars of their communities, individuals who had dedicated their lives to public service. In Brooklyn Park lived Melissa Hortman, 55 years old. She wasn't just a state representative. She was the Speaker of the Minnesota House, a Democrat described by the governor as a giant and a pillar of the state. She was a formidable political force, a champion for progressive causes, like protecting abortion rights, making her a hero to many and a target to some. With her husband, Mark, she had built a life woven into the fabric of their state's governance. About 9 miles away, in the equally tranquil suburb of Champlin, lived State Senator John Hoffman, a 60-year-old Democrat, and his wife, Yvette. Senator Hoffman was a respected public servant, a colleague, and a peer to Speaker Hortman. And then there was the architect of the chaos, a 57-year-old man named Bolt. His history was just beginning to surface, but one critical connection had already been made. He had once served on a state committee with Senator John Hoffman. Before he began his hunt, he sent a cryptic message to a friend, a chilling sign-off that read, "I've made a choice. I'll be gone for a while, or maybe die." He had made his choice, and now he was coming to collect. The night of terror began in Champlin. The knock on the Hoffman's door was firm, official. Standing on their doorstep was a man who looked like he belonged there. A police officer, clad in blue, perhaps with a badge glinting in the porch light. It was a ruse designed to disarm, to bypass the natural caution one might have in the dead of night. The moment the door opened, the illusion shattered. The night erupted in a hail of gunfire. The attack was ferocious, a desperate attempt at annihilation. Senator Hoffman was struck 8 times, his wife, Yvette, 9. The sheer number of shots speaks not just to an intent to kill, but to a deep, personal rage. Miraculously, incomprehensibly, they both survived the onslaught, clinging to life as the phantom retreated into the darkness, his mission only half complete. He then drove the 9 miles from Champlin to Brooklyn Park. It was a short drive, but one can only imagine the cold resolve, the adrenaline, the single-minded focus that must have consumed him as he moved toward his second target. At the Hortman residence, the deadly play was repeated. The same knock, the same disguise, the same betrayal. But this time, there were no survivors. Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were executed in their own home. The initial coroner's report would later state the cause of death as multiple gunshot wounds, a sterile phrase for a scene of unimaginable horror. The phantom had claimed his prize. The discovery of the 2 crime scenes, linked by their high-profile political victims and the proximity in time, sent shockwaves through the state. a massive manhunt was launched. Law enforcement from local, state, and national, and federal agencies swarmed the suburbs of Minneapolis. The public was warned that a killer who impersonated police was on the loose. The investigation took a turn when the suspect's car was found abandoned in Sibley County, a full hour's drive from the crime scenes. This discovery widened the search, suggesting the killer was fleeing, perhaps to a pre-planned hideout. Later, a second vehicle connected to the suspect was also located. The state held its breath. The manhunt reached its climax when police, acting on a tip, cornered Bolt on a walking trail. He was taken into custody, and the immediate threat was over. But the questions were just beginning. The official narrative quickly solidified around a clear motive. This was a targeted, politically motivated attack. Governor Tim Walz called it a political assassination without hesitation. The connection between Bolt and Senator Hoffman on a past state committee was seen as the likely origin of a festering grievance. This was the story of a lone wolf, a disgruntled citizen who took his political frustrations to a violent, tragic extreme. But that's where the simple answers end and the disquieting questions begin. The official report, as neat as it may be, struggles to account for the jarring inconsistencies, the pieces of the puzzle that just don't fit. First, there is the lingering question of the disguise. Why go to such lengths? Impersonating a police officer is a high-risk, felony-level crime in itself. Was it purely a tactical choice to gain entry, or was it meant to send a message, to desecrate a symbol of order while sowing chaos? How did he acquire the uniform and create a convincing enough persona to deceive his victims? Did he have help, or was he just that meticulous? And then we come to the most confounding piece of evidence: the protest leaflets found in his car, advocating for a demonstration against the president, a Republican. His victims were prominent Democrats. This is not just a contradiction. It is a direct assault on logic. Why would a man on a mission to assassinate Democrats be carrying paraphernalia for an anti-Republican protest? Was he attempting to frame the political opposition for his crimes? A twisted false flag operation. Was his own political ideology so fractured and chaotic that he held these contradictory views simultaneously? Or is it a clue that points away from Bolt as the true mastermind, suggesting he was a pawn, carrying a script written by someone else? We are forced to ask, does the official story of a disgruntled lone wolf truly explain the bizarre evidence he left behind? Or are the elaborate disguise and the confounding leaflets breadcrumbs leading to a wider, more terrifying plot that authorities are either unable to see or perhaps unwilling to reveal? When we sift through the wreckage of this tragedy, we are left with two primary competing narratives. The first and most mainstream hypothesis is that Bolt was exactly what he appeared to be, a lone actor consumed by a personal or political grievance that festered into a murderous rage. In this view, his planning was meticulous, but his ideology was a mess. The elaborate disguise was simply the most effective tool for his mission, and the contradictory leaflets were just another symptom of a deeply disturbed and chaotic mind. He is a tragic figure of our polarized times, a man who saw political opponents as mortal enemies. But there is a second, more chilling possibility, a fringe theory whispered in the darker corners of the internet, but one that refuses to be dismissed by the inconsistencies in the case. This hypothesis argues that Bolt was not the mastermind. He was a tool. The sheer theatricality of the crime, the fake uniform, the political leaflets designed to confuse, just a level of sophistication beyond that of a simple, angry man. In this version of the story, the goal was not just to eliminate two politicians. The goal was to attack the system itself, to inject paranoia and chaos into the body politic, to make citizens look at both sides of the aisle with suspicion and fear. Bolt, in this scenario, was a disposable asset. His confusing trail of clues, a deliberately crafted final act to ensure the true authors of the plot remained forever in the shadows. After hearing the evidence, the official story, and the lingering doubts, you have to decide. Do you believe this was the tragic, calculated act of one disturbed man, driven to violence by his own demons and political hatred? Or are you convinced that the strange clues, the uniform, the leaflets, point to a more sinister, hidden conspiracy, a deep state thriller playing out in the quiet suburbs of Minnesota? Which explanation feels more real to you? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you want to continue exploring cases that challenge the official narrative and peel back the layers of the truth, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss what we uncover next.